I don't know what I can do to follow that. If I knew half as much as you say I know, Karen, I would really be a good lawyer. It's really a privilege to be here. I really thank JALSA for this opportunity. Sheila and Cindy and Frank and Andy, thanks so much. It's really, I'm really grateful, and especially to Dan and Karen for those kind words. It's been a pleasure knowing both of you and working so closely with you over the years, and I look forward to continuing to do that. So it's been a really momentous 12 months for me. Those of you that know me well, last May at my congregation, Temple Beth Zion, I got the best title that you can get in any congregation, immediate past president. Then July was a pretty big month. On July 1st, Klein Hornig actually officially turned 10, so we're now in our 10th year. And then on July 28th, I officially turned 60. So that was a little bit of a watershed that kind of made me wake up and look at what's next. And then in September, my younger son, my baby, actually got married. So life is moving on quickly. And then, after all that for the year, I got Ellen's call in December asking if I would accept this award from JALSA. Now, I've always really liked JALSA's name, you know, Jewish Alliance for Law and Social Action. And that pretty much captures me. You know, Jewish, law, social action, you know, it's all there. And just by coincidence, or maybe not coincidence, I don't know, my bar mitzvah portion that I read 47 years ago, and then again a few months ago, was from Shoftim, the parsha that's in Deuteronomy, and it has in it that famous phrase that you've heard about 5 times now so far, tzedek, tzedek, tirdof. Justice, justice, you shall pursue. And so I think that set me on a course. Now that you'll find that prominently displayed on JALSA's website and on all these awards. And I think back to that 47 years ago and wonder how much a role that played in where I am now. Now, you can say, why does it say justice, justice? Well, I'll do a little text study here. Why is it repeated? Well, you know, that's the way the Torah put things in bold. They didn't have word processors then, so they wanted to put it in bold and you not miss it, so it says it twice. And one of the rabbinic interpretations of that I really like is that it said twice because it means we have to pursue justice justly, in a just manner. Not just pursue justice, but to do it in a just way, so that the ends don't justify the means, and how we do things really matters all along the way. So, this past Monday, we celebrated Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Now, he was a man whose life practically embodied the words, active pursuit of justice. And the keynote speech was given at the Martin Luther King breakfast by Harvard Divinity professor Jonathan Walton, who gave a powerful call for actively pursuing economic and social justice to honor Dr. King's legacy. He reminded us that Dr. King's message has been watered down over the years since his death. Today we remember Dr. King mostly for nonviolent resistance, for his work in segregation, for having a dream, his I Have a Dream speech. But what we don't talk about so much is his 1967 speech called Time to Break the Silence, which condemned the Vietnam War as an unjust war. For his Poor People's Campaign in 1968, which actually planned to build a multiracial coalition to literally occupy Washington and demand fair incomes. Now, today in our political discourse, we can barely utter the words poor people, right? We don't talk about the poor people, we talk about the middle class. And poor people are off the chart. But it's really important to me, and I know to all of you here, that we put that back on the chart, because that's a lot of what this work is about. And many of you probably know that Dr. King had a great friendship with Dr. Abraham Joshua Heschel, who was one of the great Jewish thinkers and activists of this past century. They met in 1963, and in 1965, Heschel was at the march in Selma, and there's actually quite a famous photograph of them marching together. And after the march, what Dr. Heschel said was, I felt like my legs were praying. I felt like my legs were praying by being in that march. And for me, that's such an important Jewish value, that we must pray with our legs, with our arms, with our eyes, with our minds, by being active. That's by pursuing justice. That's how we pray. That's one important way we pray. So, since work is what I spend about half my waking time on most days, some days more than half, sadly, It's always been really important to me to have jobs where I can pursue my convictions. Last week, a friend told me, we were chatting, and he said that he asks his students to imagine their perfect job. What would their perfect job be? And imagine that they're in it. And I thought about that for a few seconds, and I realized I've been lucky enough to have 3 perfect jobs in my career. And I think that's, I'm truly blessed. The first job was a long, long time ago when I was executive director of a small nonprofit that was dedicated to affordable student cooperative housing. That was back in Ann Arbor. And at the time, I could not have imagined a better job. I actually turned down several prestigious law schools so that I could take that job for 3 years, much to the dismay of my mother, my Jewish mother, you should know. I still get grief about it. So 13 years later, after I went through law school and took a job at a law firm, I got to be general counsel at the Community Builders, the organization Karen works for, and I know others of you are here today. And for me, that was, again, a second opportunity to do something that I could not imagine being at any other place. To be the chief lawyer for an organization that does so much good in the world, creates so much housing, does so much to build community, that was an opportunity that was, for me, a once in a lifetime, and I was really grateful to have the opportunity to do it. And of course, perfect job number 3 is Klein, Hornig, where I've been for the past 10 years, which Chris and I officially formed back in 2002. So, to use a popular phrase, you know, we are a mission-driven firm. You've heard that from others. You know that from me. And if you look at our website, you'll see that our mission is to provide the best possible legal services as efficiently as possible for affordable housing and community development. So that's okay. But the real mission of the firm, and my real mission, if I'm honest, is a little bit different. It's to make a difference. In the lives of those in our community who have the least resources and the fewest opportunities, and make sure they have decent, safe, and affordable housing. That's the real mission of the firm. It's really about the housing. It's not about the legal services. It's about working with our clients to produce the housing that is so important to so many people. Decent shelter is one of the basics. You know, food, healthcare, shelter. You need those things, and we don't do a very good job as a society to provide them. And it's really such a Jewish value to care for the most vulnerable in our society. The elderly, the young, the homeless, those with mental illness. You know, for me, homelessness is one of the great shames as a citizen and as a human being that I see. And every day I walk down to work. I get off at the Park Street T-stop. I walk down Summer Street and then down, I guess, Winter Street first, Winter Street, and then Summer Street. And until it got very, very cold, there were always 3 or 4 or 5 men and women in, you know, sleeping on cardboards and sleeping bags, you know, out on the street there. And it just gives me a lot of pain. And for me, I'm really grateful that my life's work has been to play a small part in helping to fix that and create homes for people. And I'm really grateful for all of you in the room who have made that part of your life's work as well. It's really wonderful work we do together. So, that's the serious part. I just have a few thank yous, and I will sit down. First, to my many colleagues throughout the years at Brown Rudnick, at Klein Hornig, at the Community Builders. I have been blessed with working with some of the most amazing and talented and committed people. And many of you are here, which I am really grateful for. The thing about affordable housing and practicing law on affordable housing, there are lots of areas of law you can go into. You can do mergers or acquisitions or litigation or civil rights, all of which are great things to do. I personally think the people who are in the affordable housing legal world are the best. They're smart, and they're nice, and they're good people, and they're dedicated to a mission. And so I love working with those people all the time. The other thank you is to my clients, and many of you are here as well. I can't, you know, I'm just a lawyer, right? I don't build the housing myself. I don't develop it myself. I know how to read the numbers, but it takes all of the developers and the owners and the managers around the room to make this housing a reality. And I am grateful to you for having given me and the firm the opportunity to assist you in getting all that done. So, John, you already got mentioned, but I'm going to mention you again. I really want to thank John Hitchens. John actually recruited me in 1981 to join Brown Rudnick. He's the one that got me to Boston and got me into housing law. By coincidence, we met at a conference and had a discussion, and it led to me being here. He has been a colleague and a friend for nearly 40 years, but I guess I told you how old I am already. It's a really long time. And he is one of the finest lawyers I know and one of the finest people I know. So thank you so much. And I consider it a privilege that we still have the opportunity to practice law together so much later. And I also think if we keep practicing, we'll get it right soon. I also want to thank Chris Hornig. I wish he could be here today. He is the best partner that I could have wished for when we started this journey 10 years ago. I had known Chris for a number of years in the housing world, and Chris's suggestion that we meet and chat and then combine our separate solo practices was really one of the best moves I've ever made. So thank you to Chris. And almost finally, thank you to my parents. To my dad, Albert Klein, may he rest in peace. And to my mom, Esther Small, who is 85, and she is still alive and kicking in Miami, Florida. She is really disappointed she couldn't be here today, but I am going to Florida next weekend to show her the video, which Dan is taking. Thank you, Dan. Hi, Mom. I'm here. It was my parents who gave me my Jewish values and understanding the importance of tzedek, justice, and of tikkun olam, repairing the world, and I thank them for that. And finally, I want to thank my life partner, Amy, my best friend, my wife, all the same person, thank goodness, for all of her help and encouragement and support and reassurance. She is part of everything that I am, and without her, I could not have done any of this. So thank you. And thank you to everyone. Thank you very much.